Hi, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Carnival of Randomness. It's Rob, and we're joined again by our house drummer, Greg.
Hi, I'm really hyper today. I'm really more perky.
Plus, also, there's a dog in the studio, if you see the picture we put out.
Hi, Blaise.
So, and the dog will be the focus of the show, of course. Because it's gone to the dogs here a long time ago, so he ran away. But one of the, obviously, on the Carnival, we try to bring up stuff that's amusing to you when we don't have guests. When we can capture guests, we try to bring up all the cultural aspects of Rochester, promote all the good things around here. And I think we don't usually use themes, but I think one of the themes this week is how music, during all this crazy stuff, is a unifying factor and something used for good. And I'm very glad to have two really outstanding guests today. And I'm just going to introduce them by who's sitting next to me. And you can't see that, but trust me, unless you see the picture. But first, Herb Smith.
Yeah.
Hi. Hey, and John Wiesenthal.
Wiesenthal.
I knew it. Why didn't you tell me? I tried.
Okay, just think of wheezing.
My allergies. But Herb, if you like
my other brother
wheeze. If you'd like to say a couple things about yourself, we all know you.
Well, thanks for having me on the show, man. It's nice to be here. Herb Smith, trumpet player, played with the RPO and just got a lot of stuff going.
The Freedom Trio, as I know, and some other things we'll talk about. I have to say one thing, though, when you said about playing trumpet, trombone. My friend Mark Bradley, one time we were talking about Miles Davis, who's up there with Coltrane as my jazz friends, and I told Mark, I said, he's a really good horn player, and I get this stern look, he plays trumpet! And this is like a layman.
That sounds like Mark. I played with him.
Okay, you play trombone?
Trumpet. No trombone, just trumpet.
Okay.
I try to play trombone, and I just, the slide thing is just too
much. John Wiesenthal, can you say a little about yourself?
Yeah, so I teach at the Hochstein Music School. I've been there. I'm now considered part of the furniture. I've been there a long time, and I've done a lot of things. Pretty interesting history, but I guess the two things that seem to stand out in the music world, which I'm discovering, is that I started a band known as the Blue Oyster Cult, which has sold many, many millions of albums and is actually still going.
Oh, wow.
And
they played here in Henrietta like a couple years ago.
If you ever have a chance to hear them, man, they rock. They really are a fantastic band.
Did you hear about that show? What happened, though? I guess they played a show. It was I'm going to say Henrietta, but I think I'm wrong. It was somewhere around here. What happened was the equipment van broke down. So they couldn't bring like the Godzilla stuff, but I guess what they did, it was like going to see like a practice. People loved it.
Well, they did a thing in it was probably about 10 years ago. They were playing at this thing called the Speedy Festival in the town that's got a SUNY
Potsdam?
No, down south toward
Oswego.
God, my brain is
east, west, north, south.
There's so many. South. Anyway, they were playing down.
Station.
They were playing down there, and their equipment got lost. So I brought guitars down to them. And they played on them. On those guitars.
Wow.
And I like the founding of the name. It was based on that painting of the aliens.
Well, actually, the band originally, first of all, it just started as a group playing in a house, kind of an animal house kind of thing, where I was, and we were just jamming. And then one of the guys in the house had a friend who was a really good guitar player who was going to school in Potsdam. He came down, and he kind of became the center of the band. And we were jamming, and people were, sort of hanging on the rafters. And
is that Buck or the other guy?
That's Buck.
Yeah.
Donald Rozier.
Yeah, Don Rozier, yeah. So at the end of the summer, I thought, here we really have a possibility of having a great band. And I realized that at the end of the summer, everybody was going to go in different directions. So I rented a house. And I said, okay, let's all move in here and play every day. And that was the beginning of the band. Nice. So the two of I was a philosophy major at the time, and two of my friends were writing for a Crawdaddy magazine. And so my feeling was like, let's give them something to work with. So I thought, well, we'll form a band, and they can write songs for it, or they can do something with it. We can promote the band through the magazine.
So this is pre-blog, right? Okay.
Yeah, this is like 1967.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So anyway, so Sandy Perlman, who became a professor, he's producer and stuff, and Richard Meltzer got involved. And suddenly we had a lot of ideas going. And so Sandy gave the band the name the Soft White Underbelly. And now the name actually came from a movie that my father produced. My father was a movie producer, and he was involved in this movie called The Kremlin Letter. And the idea in The Kremlin Letter was that they were going to infiltrate that the American spies were going to infiltrate Russian power circles by way of the soft white underbelly of the society, which is the drug addicts, the outlawed homosexuals, all the perverts, and I can't say perverts in those.
You can say whatever you want.
Anyway, they were. That
we're was saying perverts quote in 1960.
So that was the soft white underbelly of society, and so that's what we were. And then the band went through several evolutions, and I kind of saw this great power that we could use music to catalyze anti-war movement.
Oh, okay.
Suddenly there were people gathering around me, and I was suddenly like playing this role of guru.
Oh, wow.
Which made me very uncomfortable. And so I withdrew from the band and started studying yoga. Decided, well, if I'm going to have to be a guru of some sort, I really ought to have a clue of what that's about.
Yeah, right.
So I turned the band over to Sandy as managing it, and then it went through a few different names. It went through the name Oaxaca, the Stock Forest Group, which made an album with Elektra Records, and now I think they've done like 30 albums with Columbia and
I've always found that interesting, that whole concept where like you work and work and work to try to get somewhere, and then you kind of get there and you go, man, I don't know if I like this. No, but a lot of people go through that.
Yeah.
So Peter Green from Fleetwood Mac. I mean, you get these guys, then all of a sudden they want to shrink into the background because now they're so out front. And I just always found that interesting. It's like, be careful what you wish for.
People do that in companies, like when they start a company and then like they figure, okay, now I want to move on to another company and turn it over to someone else and then do a new venture. It's just kind of, some people are just like starters of ideas.
Right. Steve Jobs and a lot the way he
a lot
did
of
a lot
guys
of those.
did that.
Where he's the idea man, really. Wozniak was the tech guy, but then he went on to Walter Isaacson wrote a really fantastic book about
I didn't mean to interrupt.
But then that's the thing. I think people who are creative just are going to be creative, and they're looking for new things. It's always you never settle. I think John Byrne, the comic book artist, once made a comment where he said he consolidated his style back in the 80s, and other people were saying, well, you're done then because you stopped. You never tried to further. We're like Neil Peart. He tried to learn a whole different style of drumming from scratch because he wanted to test himself.
Well, some artists are like flexible and move through the time, and other artists kind of find their thing and that's it. Like I think of James Taylor.
Right.
Like James Taylor, he's definitely flexible. Like his band now is like all like Steve Jordan on drums.
Oh, nice.
Flem on bass. Like he's Steve Gadd on drums too. He's got like all these great players. But I'm wondering, like, when he gets up there and he plays Sweet Baby James. What's the one tune that he does?
Baby James.
Yeah, it's
Fire
like he's been doing that tune for 40 years,
And
right? Wow. Like, are you tired of that tune?
Robert Plant said something about that. Well, Robert Plant said, I don't do Stairway to Heaven because I wasn't that person anymore, and he wants to keep doing. And I think it works two ways. If you're playing to an audience, you're a famous band, people are going to come, they're going to expect to hear these songs.
Right.
And for them, they're going to expect the usual. And sometimes, like, you want to do something different, make sure you play your new material and everything.
Right. Paul Simon's a good example of that, boy. He really did a 180 with Graceland and stuff like that.
Yes, he did. Yeah. Paul Simon, to me, is a good example of someone that is always kind of in a creative and always moving forward, doing something different and kind of changing with his time, but he's able to also bring the audience with him.
Right.
Where other people are like for example, years ago I went to go see Hall & Oates. And I was at Tanglewood.
Hall & Ass?
And actually I I was given tickets, and it was a bunch of us that went to the concert. Anyway,
it's okay.
So yeah, Hall & Oates. Anyway, I like Hall & Oates. Okay, Hall & Oates is
Me
good.
too.
I like Christmas movies. I like Christmas
Back in the Hall &
movies.
Oates, back in the day. Anyway, so we were just kind of like, we weren't like, I'm not like a Hall & Oates fan-ish. You know, I'm like a big fan, but I know, like, you know, Private Eyes, they're watching you.
Yeah, right.
You know, all that stuff. You know, whoa, here she comes. You know, all those tunes. Anyway, so we were just hanging out at the thing, and we were just kind of having a good time or whatever. And when they were playing their like new Hall & Oates tunes, we just weren't so interested into that. We were just kind of like, whatever. But the actual Hall & Oates groupie people were like mad at us because we weren't like into the newer Hall & Oates
I have the
stuff,
one for you.
You know?
One of my best friends, he loves Duran Duran. So he's like, we have to go see him
I
up
do
at
too.
Casino, right? So we get to go see him at Seneca. We go up there. Simon Le Bon comes on. First thing he says is, we're going to play some new songs. He goes, but don't. And you hear these and I like the astronaut. Oh, don't worry, we're going to play the hits. But that's what I say about music. There's so much out there, and we probably all grew up maybe pigeonholed in something. I always say, don't go see the stuff you like. Obviously, go see what you enjoy, but go see the stuff you don't know because you might really enjoy it.
I mean, your brain has a snapshot. Well, this is the music that made me happy, or this is the music that made me, this is when I went in the army, or this is when I got married, whatever it is. And then, you know, you go with that preconception, I guess, in your head. And then if when it changes, you're disappointed because your life's, you want it to be the same, you know, as a comfort thing.
Great example. My mom loved Liberace and wanted to go see him. My dad did not want to go. He went. He loved it. Absolutely loved it.
The guy's great. Yeah.
But there's a question I want to ask musicians because I'm not one and all of you are, so we have you here. Is it when you are going to learn to play? Is it the instrument or is it you? Do you go sometimes with an idea of what you want to play and you fall in love with it, or do you start with something sometimes and go, maybe this isn't me, and then you go on to an instrument that you like? Because I've heard this with harp a lot.
Are you talking about starting in?
Say you said, I want to play piano, and you start, and then all of a sudden you're hooked on the guitar or the violin.
Yeah. Well, I started violin when I was 7.
Okay.
And that really kind of got me, just sort of catalyzed some things. I remember my very early television watching cartoons, and they were old silent cartoons, and they played. There was guitar music. It was Segovia playing it. So, like this, some of my earliest musical memories go back to hearing the classical guitar, these pieces which I remember vividly. But I started violin when I was 7, and then the trumpets up behind me in the orchestra were blasting me. So then I got a trumpet, so I could abuse the violins next year. And then I got the French horn. But then I went to this summer camp and started, and they had. A lot of people were playing guitar and recorders in this outdoor environment. That was really cool. So I got a guitar, and Pete Seeger was giving a workshop at that time.
Okay.
So that was my first guitar quote lesson exposure was in a workshop with Pete Seeger and
nice.
This woman named Beth Lomax Hawes, who was actually the sister of Alan Lomax, and so it was a lot of folkloric stuff and I got a book, classical guitar book, and started teaching myself guitar.
Oh.
I heard, were you always going for the trumpet?
See, for me, it was trumpet and nothing else. Like, I was in 4th grade. The band director, it's the meeting for everyone. You get to see if you want to play an instrument, right? And he's there, and he plays all the instruments.
No.
He played trumpet, tuba, trombone, flute, clarinet. He played. It was just, and at this school, it was just winds. It wasn't strings.
Oh, uh-huh.
And I always tell this story. I was just like, as a 9-year-old kid, I'm thinking, well, I walked to school, so I'm not gonna get the tuba. It's too big. You know what I mean? It's too big. Flute, that's kind of girlish, too small. You know what I mean? Just like a 9-year-old making decisions. Our trumpet is shiny. It's
just right. It's just right.
You know,
It's just
Goldilocks.
right.
It's got 3 bells. How hard can it be?
How hard can it be? Right. Well, I figured that out. It's a lot harder than I thought.
Well, you know, I have a lot of credit for all you guys because when I went to Nazareth, I majored in music ed, although I'm not really.
And then he couldn't play, so they made him a drummer.
Yeah. Oh!
We make fun of drummers on the show, just so you know.
I'm the foil. No, but I mean, you know, then you got to take the methods classes.
Right, of course.
So, you know, you got to make some sound. I mean, clarinet was the only instrument I found that was like, I kind of would, I would take this farther if I could.
Right.
For some reason, out of all instruments. But I mean, you know, trumpet's a toughie. Yeah. But I started because, remember the Mickey Mouse Club, right?
Right.
I guess that guy, Cubby was a drummer. And I saw him do a drum solo. And I'm sitting there going, I can do that, you know. There's something I can do that. So then I just bugged my parents for drum lessons. But I started kind of late. I was like 10 or 11, which is late, really, I guess, in the scheme of things.
Yeah, I went to Eastman as an education major. So I understand what you're talking about as far as like doing the methods.
Right.
And
it was tough for me. I struggled.
Well, it was tough for me too. The instrument that I just could not play was flute. Flute was very hard for me. It was just very, very hard for me. And I just remember having to like take my test at the end of the semester to pass out a flute. And I was just nervous. My hand hurt because
mouth's all dry.
I was cramming practicing because I didn't practice the year, you know. Yeah. I'm like trying to practice. I'm like, I gotta be able to play this flute. But the instrument that I really liked, I loved oboe.
Yeah.
Oboe was great. The only thing about oboe is like the reeds. You know, you guys like oboists are always like, they're not too far from a reed knife. You know, they're always making their reeds and stuff.
Yeah.
But like if you have a good reed, if I had a good reed, and like I would go to Wendell Harrison. Remember?
Right, I remember Wendell. Yeah. I played a gig at his house once.
I would go to Wendell Harrison's and pick up their little like plastic reeds or whatever that you could just buy, you know. And if I had a good reed, man, I could tear up an oboe, man. I loved oboe.
It's very, very atmospheric, too, because you always hear it all the time in movies and different things, and even cartoons, I guess. It's just got that kind of cool sound.
Yeah. It's actually the most, I think it's the instrument in the orchestra that has the most solos.
It does.
Actually, that's good. We're going to use it as a trivia question. You won't win anything. We're going to use that for sometimes for some guests.
The oboe, the English horn. My daughter's a really good bassoonist.
Oh, bassoon.
Although she's now a nurse practitioner.
Okay.
Hasn't really touched the bassoon, but she was they call all Eastern.
Okay, right.
In bassoon, you know, so she was really fantastic. Went to college on a bassoon scholarship.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Bassoon was hard for me because bassoon you have to stretch your fingers really far. And I was just, I had a problem with bassoon.
Do you ever have an issue? I mean, not an issue, but is it tough to hold the trumpet up? I mean, is that something you develop, or is it just it's like any instrument? I mean, your positioning is important.
Yeah,
right?
no, I mean, now it does. I don't have a problem with it. I mean, I guess back, I was a kid, but now it's not that big.
Did you ever
do the Miles Davis thing with you?
I remember seeing Walter Werbos played one time in the Box Shop Atrium, and I guess he played. I remember he played 45 to 50 minutes straight. Okay. You could see spittle coming out.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
I know, spit valves.
But did you learn at first, too? This is like a really simple question, but when you first learn to play, you have to sort of learn breathing, when to breathe in, when to breathe out, and everything.
Oh yeah, I mean it's all about like the vibration. You know, it's the vibration, and a lot of people they associate playing the trumpet or a brass instrument with like the voice, with the human voice. There's a difference though with a brass instrument, with a trumpet specifically. Kind of like oboe, it has a lot of back pressure. So basically, like you're blowing, you got all this air, but it's going into this small hole.
Right.
So it's like, you're trying to blow it through. So it's a balance between like trying to just like not blow a lot, right, and then pushing hard enough to get the high notes to come out. So one of the things that I tell people that people don't really realize this because they're like, "Oh man, Herb, your lungs must be awesome," blah blah. And I'm like, well, yes, thank you, but it takes less air to play the trumpet than it does to speak. Think about that. Most people, when you play trumpet, you think they're really blowing hard.
Yeah, seeping out.
It takes less air to play the trumpet than to speak. Now, what it does take is air pressure, right? So it's like, you're like...
That's why the embouchure is like so important.
That's why the embouchure, because you're buzzing your lips like that.
So tell me, can you do circular breathing?
Yes, I can. I can do
you ever
circular
play
breathing.
didgeridoo?
Yes, I did play didgeridoo. Okay, I have a great story about circular breathing. Okay. Do you know the saxophone player Terrence Bruce?
Yeah. Oh yeah, Terrence Bruce. Yeah. Is he still around? Is he around?
He's still around. He's still around.
He was big on that. I remember.
Yeah, he could do that. So
he can play with a guitarist on his shoulders.
Oh yes, okay, he did stuff like that, wouldn't he?
You know, he was Glenn Cummings is just a fantastic guitarist.
Yes.
Go back. I will bring Glenn on later.
Get him. Okay, so anyway, I played this gig with Terrence, and we were with a high school band. We were like fronting the band, and so I would get up there and play a solo, and then the crowd would be like, "Yay, Herb, woo!" Right? And then Terrence would get up there, and then he would do a circular breathing little act trick thing, and he'd like circular breathe a note, walk down into the audience, hold a note, look at his watch while he's holding it, and all this kind of stuff.
Working it.
And then come back up on stage, and the crowd would go, "Oh my God, Terrence!" And it would just go nuts. And this went on the whole gig. I would play a solo. All right, Herb. He would circular breathe. And it was really pissing me off.
Some people who are listening might not know what circular breathing is.
So what circular breathing is, right, thank you for that. So what circular breathing is it's a way where you are breathing, but you're blowing through your instrument while you're still playing the note. You fill up your cheeks with air. You take and then you blow the air out of your cheeks while quickly taking in a breath with your nose. So the note can go on. You can play a note indefinitely because you're breathing while you're playing.
That may be like sometimes if you see Louis Armstrong is really puffed up. That's what he's doing.
Louis Armstrong never really circular breathed. He didn't circular breathe, but like
Dizzy
Gillespie never really did it either much. But like Kenny G, Kenny G, he's known for that.
Unfortunately.
Michael Brecker would do it.
Roland Kirk
would do it.
There's a voice from beyond.
Wynton Marsalis could do it. Like a bunch of guys would do this. I think maybe John Coltrane was doing it in his like tone colors.
Terrence Bruce.
Yeah, we'd talk about Terrence for sure. So anyway, I told Terrence after that gig, I said, Terrence, the next time I play with you, I am going to learn how to circular breathe. And I said, you're going to go out there in the audience and do that circular breathing trick thing, and I'm going to be walking right behind you, holding the note with you. We both gonna be holding the notes.
That's
because it's kind of a trick.
Yeah.
But the thing about circular breathing, people are like, oh, it's a trick. But circular breathing is something that goes back centuries because, like the didgeridoo players back, thousands and thousands of years ago would do it. There's other instruments in like other kind of cultures like Vietnamese, Korean music where they're like or like if you think about snake charmers. Snake charmers, that's what they're doing. They're circular breathing because they just keep it going.
I'd be panic attacking if I was doing that.
Circular breathing, that's good. I love.
That's what I love about international music too, and the programs like at the RPO, especially like in the side where they have one of the bands I saw I was really impressed by is Daka Braka.
Okay, and
they're from the Ukraine around there, and all they would do, they would pound the drums, and one guy would make bird noise and just go. And they're great though, just fantastic rhythms and everything, and like world music for that.
Yeah.
But I was going to ask, as musicians, who did you listen to growing up? Did you have people specifically in mind, or were you all over the place?
Well, when I connected with the guitar, folk music was very much popular, the Kingston Trio. And one side of my story here that I actually take most pride in is that when I grew up in California, so I went to this private school for a year where my mother taught art in exchange for our tuition. And there was a group there that played, it was called the Outhouse 4+2. And there was a banjo player and a tuba player, and it was really kind of cool scene. So I was like in the 9th grade at that time. And so I really got hooked on the Kingston Trio. And
I love them.
And then I moved down. We moved down to this was in the mountains of Southern California. We moved down to Orange County, and I started surfing. And so this girl in my class, she said, "Will you take my little brother surfing with you because he can't drive?" And I said, "Sure." So I took him in, and so their dad played piano in a Dixieland band, and I would show Jackson how to play a chord on the guitar and another chord, and then we would. They had a friend of theirs who was an alcoholic, and she would buy us booze. We'd stay up late, and my parents were always out of town.
Always good to have a friend that's an alcoholic.
We would be jamming. We'd go in the bathroom and turn on the heat lamp, which was red, and it was like the clubs. We would go to these clubs.
Wow, that's fun.
It was like we had a little spotlight, and we had echo from the bathroom. So we'd be doing these songs. Anyway, so this young guy started writing songs, and today his name is Jackson Brown.
Oh, wow.
And we're still very good friends.
There's also a famous musician named Jackson Brown.
Yeah, that's him. Yeah. So we get together when he's in town. And he is such a gifted guy. I don't know if you really know his music.
Yeah, a little bit.
He's a wonderful writer. And,
he is. He's great.
When
I was on the road, I didn't talk to him or anything, but I happened to see him like in a hotel. He was talking to some fans, and it's like, wow, there's Jackson Brown. I mean, I did some traveling and stuff, and I've met quite a few people. And going back a couple subjects ago, you were talking about the whole playing the hits and everything. When I was in Atlantic City, I played this gig at the Resorts International with a show band. And in the main hall, Gary Puckett had brought a group back together with two of his brothers. And a couple of them, him included, we all piled in my car one night and we went to see the Romantics at some bar in New Jersey. We're like, "Oh, you want to go out?" "Oh, sure, man." And I started talking to him, not to like get any favors or anything, but just to, two guys on the road hanging out, right? So it's like, I said, "Well, it must be tough." He goes, "Yeah, man, everybody wants to hear the old stuff and blah, 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 blah." So it's a constant problem. He was trying to do something different. Right. And, it's just one of those
I've seen
things.
Ray Davies when people yell Lola.
Yeah.
Right.
But one thing I like about the RPO, and which I've seen, I haven't gone to a concert in a while for some strange reason. But
I wonder why.
What I really enjoyed is you'd have the pieces, but there's usually always something you would add in that was a little more obscure for the people. Uh-huh. I always enjoyed that because it would be something that what I'd love to do is you find new things that then you go research them.
Right. Yeah. I that's one of the things I do think about RPO that I'm actually like right now actively trying to foster and promote is to mix it up a little bit.
Yes, exactly.
Mix it up, like throw in some new pieces.
I always call it like the circus effect, where there's something for everyone. Like I say, please try new things. You might enjoy them.
Let me ask
but
her.
you even do. I'll give you. But I even like you go do international music, different cultures, classical. But as we all know, you also do the movies.
Right, exactly.
And I've been dragged to the Harry Potter.
Well, that's what I was gonna
friends
ask.
of mine, but I enjoy the music.
That's what I wanted to ask. Do you think those pop things are like just a way to get people in, or do you think are they fun to do? Or
you mean the movies?
Do you find that music interesting to play?
Well, personally, we did Empire Strikes Back. We did Star Wars,
right?
And I was just in heaven because I love Star Wars. Yeah. Like I was a
Do you hear it though? I've heard it from so many friends who went, those are the only films. Those are the only films. The other ones don't count.
Well, didn't you do the Superman one too? Richard Donner.
You did Ghostbusters. I know
we did
that.
Ghostbusters. We did We did Ghostbusters. We did.
I think one of you is doing Psycho. Somebody's doing Psycho this year for Halloween.
Wow.
I think Hochstein's doing it. I got the catalog.
Okay.
And you did all the Harry Potters.
We did the Harry Potters. I think we have some more Harry Potters coming up.
Well, those seem like they'd be pretty substantial.
They are substantial, and they're hard for the trumpets because like the chase scenes are usually like,
I think you did Indiana Jones. Did you do Raiders of the Lost Ark?
We did Indiana Jones.
I was doing.
We did Pirates of the Caribbean. We did that as well.
Wow.
So
more than I thought.
It's what it is for orchestras, though, is like this is a way for people that aren't classical music aficionados, right, to come to an orchestra concert and really be involved, really enjoy and be engaged. You have, it's watching a movie. You have the video and the audio. And orchestras are really an old thing, and that's part of like what I'm trying to enliven here is because, how often do you just go someplace, sit down, and watch music and not walk around, not talk?
Right.
It's a different world. Now our world we have is, my daughter is on TikTok.
You got to be stimulated
and it's
every
just,
second.
Look at something, something else,
Yep.
something else. It's moving that fast.
Right.
And I'm like, no, we want you to sit down for 45 minutes,
Yeah.
not say a word, not be on your phone, and just listen to music.
It can happen too, because I found like when this pandemic started,
it can happen.
I felt like I would sit down because you couldn't do anything, and I'd be wired because I'm always on the move, and you expect. And I'd like to read a lot. I got back to reading because you used to looking at things, flipping through, not going through like a 500-page book. But one thing I will say about these shows, and I've been made to go to the Star Wars, Nightmare Before Christmas I had to go to, the kids come all dressed up.
Yes.
Everybody has fun.
Yep.
People are taking pictures out with Hogwarts and stuff. R2-D2 showed up.
Yep.
Grace did the cinnamon bun.
Darth Vader was there.
I didn't see him.
Darth Vader was there for one of them.
I saw R2. But I know Bill Murray played there. Bill Murray played, and he played all old time. They had the Ghostbusters van. I'm sure they came out for when you did Ghostbusters.
I think that's good, though. It gets rid of the preconceived stuffed shirt. Opera.
Well, that is.
I
like opera though. That's my problem.
Well, I'm just. He knows what I'm trying to say.
Right, no, but so like I did this class where I'm talking about unlocking classical music for people, and one of the things I talk about is like classical music was popular music. It was popular music.
Right.
Like people listen to, whatever, Drake and all the different, groups that they listen to now. But I'm saying back then, popular music was Michael Jackson. It was Prince. It was, Jackson Brown. It was popular back then. So, and I talk about like, people love to watch Bridgerton, on Netflix, right? This long series. Well, that was opera.
Right.
Opera was a movie, and it was scandalous. It was like a guy, she's married to somebody else, she's sleeping with somebody else, he gets upset,
did you ever
kills himself. You know what I mean? It's like, that's what it was. It was a show. But nowadays, it's an older language, so it's not the same. It doesn't have the same type of appeal to people.
Yeah.
And so if we can kind of get back, if you can kind of just clue people in on what it actually is, like what it was and what it's representing, then people can sometimes kind of listen to it from a different place and actually be engaged.
Yeah. Well, when I was a kid, they took us to Eastman a couple times, and we saw like little mini orchestra things. I don't know, they explained the sections of the orchestra and stuff. Yep. Do they still do those kinds of things?
Yes,
because boy, that inspired the hell out of me.
Well, I conduct RPO. And I do, I did this intermediate concert, and back in March, like right before the big shutdown happened, we were scheduled to do a week long of concerts for 4th through 6th grade kids, and they all come to Eastman Theater, and it's a big deal. Like, look at the chandelier, this whole thing, like the whole deal. Probably the kind of concert that you were talking about.
Yeah, but we're talking 1960 something.
But they've been doing it for a long time. And then everything shut down. Right. And I was supposed to conduct it. So we ended up just doing I'm doing a stream.
Right.
And a live stream. And so basically they had us in a whole bunch of different schools. And we set it up so that like the kids could vote. We were doing this thing like which one they liked better. It's trumpets against clarinets, and this kind of thing was a lot of fun.
Trumpets,
of course. But
trumpets is in big really letters,
right? Well, because the kids could actually vote, and then they sent in their stuff to us, and then we showed them the results on the screen. So that was a really
we did that in grade school. You know who the winner was? It was the harp.
Harp always wins. Harp harp is tough. Harp is tough.
I came about it a different way. I actually came about because I read the book, The Lives of the Great Composers, and that got me interested. And then all these guys are so fascinating and just interesting individuals, and I learned the structure of classical from that. Then my first classical record ever was Mosogorsky, Pictures at an Expedition.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And I went from there.
Did you ever hear that played on You ever hear that played on guitar? Kazuhito Yamashita recorded
I'm gonna look it up after
the
this.
Ravel, basically a transcription of the Ravel orchestration on guitar. It was
a transcription of the Ravel orchestration of the Mussorgsky piece.
It's unbelievable.
Wow.
That's actually a question I'm going to ask.
So I want to ask Herb a couple of questions.
Sure.
One is, when you started playing trumpet in school, I assume you were learning basically on the Bellman method or something like that, right? So at what point did you discover jazz and start improvising?
Jazz was like always side by side for me.
From the very beginning?
From the very beginning.
Oh, that's great.
Because my trumpet teacher, Mr. Dooley, was like a jazz player too. And so like we were learning like, you know, your scales and all that stuff, half notes
Solar.
and all that stuff. Right, and then we started learning like little tunes like you know, like Freddie Freeloader, you know, which is easy tune like that, Tune Up, Solar, all those like trumpet tunes, Miles Davis, easy tunes, right? Right, and so that was always just hand in hand. And then when I went to like kind of my high school, which was like a creative arts school, I was in band, orchestra and jazz band, all the way through high school. And then when I went to Eastman, same deal. I was in Eastman Jazz Ensemble and I was in Eastman Philharmonic. And that always was a little bit of an issue because my classical teacher, Barbara Butler, she was just like, you know, you need to give up that jazz stuff, man. And focus on the classical.
Get a job.
And then wow. And then my jazz guys were just like, "Hey, we need to give up that classical stuff, man, and come over here and learn how to solo."
Join us, we cookies.
Right.
So as a jazz player, of course, the jazz standards, most of them come from Broadway originally, right? So you have Jerome Kern and you know, all those great, these beautiful melodies, right? So now, but what concerns me right now is it seems to me like in popular music is the deadening of the ear to melody, and it really concerns me because there is, you know, there's this just rich stimulation from the brain of these incredible melodies and harmonies that everything is turning into this basically minor third pentatonic based sort of kind of a primitive incantation.
But the beats, man, it's all about the beats.
No,
and the
there's
groove.
actually has anybody seen the movie Ghost World? There's Steve Buscemi is like a record collector. He's all into blues classics. So a friend of his wants to take him out. He never goes out. So they go out to a bar because there's an old blues man playing, and he wants them to sign his record. And there's all these people. They're ignoring him, playing pole. There's a band called Blues Hammer. They come out. I've been plowing and picking cotton all day long. They're just crap, but everybody's up dancing. They don't pay attention to the person who's actually got the talent.
No, but John's right, though. I mean, the melody has just become this stupid, whatever, you know. I don't know. And then I got to think, because it's loops and beats and things, it's just like every song is starting to sound alike.
Well, it's interesting to see
certain ways.
A good friend of mine from college at University of Oregon, he went down and started playing in Reno and became he played in the pit bands. He had a string quartet that played society gigs, you know, and he also dealt cards in the casinos. I remember saying when he used to play with Neil Sedaka, who's a really good pianist. And they would play string quartets with Neil Sedaka doing these piano like Dvorak piano quintet. So.
We have a dog here, just in case if you ever hear anything.
My dog Blaise is trying to dominate me here.
He's blocking the microphone.
This is why we don't have these on video, so we don't get demonetized for dog action.
But anyway, so but the thing is that once they started using recorded music, it just killed the casino gigs, the casino orchestras.
Oh, wow.
And so recording the recording business, is good for a certain class of people who are able to get royalties. But now it's all really messed up.
It's a producer's game now.
I listen to YouTube. I use YouTube so much, and nobody's making money off of that, as far as I can see, except the people who are, peddling bad stuff.
Well, I heard
there's so much out there. Yeah. That's the thing too, and anybody can do it. That's the problem. You have to dig through to find the good stuff.
I mean, I went to a Carmen Appice clinic, and
a piece or Appice.
A piece. I don't know. Yeah, I think he's Appice, and his brother's Appice.
He changed it over the time. I know that.
But he was saying about the Spotify thing, and how it's a kind of a crummy business model as far as the artist makes. Like, I mean, to make $4,000, you got to get like 1 million hits or some crazy thing like that.
It's a lot.
I mean, it's like how do you.
But I agree with you about melody and music. Mm-hmm. I agree with you.
I do too.
Like melodies, you just don't hear them much anymore. It's just like da 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 da. Like that's the melody,
right?
Yeah.
And it's not something that's like actually moving through harmonies and actually something that you would actually remember. Like that's the thing about a melody. Like it's like if you write a good melody, you never forget it.
Yeah, I mean nobody goes out of the hall singing a rhythm. Or maybe they're feeling rhythm, but they're not singing a harmony.
Right.
But they're it's a melody that you remember. And so even, while academia embraces new ideas, they're actually abandoning, I think the foundational energy that reaches the heart.
That comes from a melody.
Yeah.
That's what's good about like John Williams stuff, because he's got themes for everybody and everything, and the Superman theme and this and that thing, and you kind of remember them and you hear it and it sets you up for a certain feeling and all that kind of stuff.
And that what he's doing there is coming from Wagner.
Yeah,
right.
And
Wagner, when he had these big ring cycles or
Strauss.
whatever. Right.
Oh, this is a great question to ask you.
Each character had its own melody, and then when the characters are speaking to each other, he's weaving those melodies together. You know what I mean? Like he's weaving those melodies together. So, so like when that person comes out, I mean, it's like, when Darth Vader comes out. Dun, dun, dun,
that's the question I wanted to ask about.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, good. Okay, here comes Darth Vader.
Even if it is only 2 notes.
My friend Don Blair said this, though. Is there any truth to this, that Darth Vader's theme was based on Horse the Planets?
Okay, so...
This is not my idea. A friend told me this.
They say that
everything's based on everything.
They say an artist borrows stuff. A good artist steals.
I've heard this.
And John Williams, to me, is just amazing at stealing stuff in a way that's obviously legal. He's not doing it. He's not like just copying it. But like when you go through his music, you hear all kind of stuff. You hear Bernstein. You hear Copland. You hear Wagner. You hear Bruckner. Like he knows music so well. He just borrows things, and it's so well done.
It is, and one of the highlights for me of all the Star Wars films was seeing one of my favorite things when Luke is staring into the suns and you hear the Force theme.
Yes.
You hear that live.
Yeah, it's really amazing, and there's so much of the music in the in the soundtrack and everything from the movie that is pushing the movie. It's pushing the character themes. It's pushing it. So it's like the music and it's going hand in hand.
You know what? If you don't believe that, try watching the movie. Yeah. Try watching the movie without the soundtrack.
I know.
Right. So Herb, have you ever done anything with Farouk? Do you know Farouk Tekbilek?
I know that name, but I've never done anything.
Farouk is a musician from Turkey.
Okay.
Who came to Rochester, and I believe he worked at Freeman Hickey,
Okay.
Where
Hickey Freeman?
Yeah, Hickey Freeman.
Yeah.
Where a lot of Turkish
Sure.
people in that business worked. But he is a world-renowned musician.
Okay.
He's known widely in that world, and I'm surprised that I don't know if the RPO has ever done anything with him, but you're talking about bringing in some different kind of music. I mean, he's got loads of albums out, and he's widely respected.
Let's talk
Yeah.
because I want to get.
Here
that
we go.
name.
Yeah.
We will have tickets
Yeah.
on sale here in a couple weeks, hopefully.
What does he play? What is his? He
Well,
plays like a lot
he's
of.
a percussionist primarily, but he plays a lot of all the instruments.
Okay.
So another person that I want to bring out is Jason Vio. Now, years ago, we had a guitar society, the Guitar Society of Rochester, and we basically put guitar on the map in this town.
Okay.
And there was a young boy from Buffalo who used to come here, and when he was 12, and one of our, we saw he was very interested and talented, and helped him play in master classes with visiting artists, including many great, very world-renowned artists. One of our members helped him go to college,
Okay.
and he won a Grammy in 2015 for the best solo classical album.
Oh, fantastic.
His name is Jason Vio.
Okay.
So I was going to bring him here last year
Okay.
to do a concert at Hochstein, and we were just at the point of breaking even.
Okay.
Actually, we were actually in the black, and COVID hit a week before the concert. We had to give all that money back. You know, it was real pain. But we'll bring him back again. But the thing is interesting is that he's never played with the RP. He has done music with Lincoln Center. You know,
Okay.
music with Lincoln Center. He went to school with Juliana.
Oh, okay.
At Cleveland.
Okay.
He's now the first guitar professor at Curtis.
Okay.
And he's the head of the guitar program at Cleveland Institute. And he's a very, very top artist. He should be booked by the RPO. So I am charging you with getting him
I'm
a
saying
gig.
we'll talk. Get that name because I mean that would be a perfect
And I will
person.
say, like,
that would be a perfect person for RPO to have. Yes.
They should have him.
Again, the diversity. I've seen everything from Gershwin to John Waters at Hochstein and the RPO. But one of the other, this is like my dad every year, I will say, he loved the RPO Christmas shows.
Oh, yeah.
And every year, the last few years, it seemed we were glad to get to them because of the weather. Walking out. But he loved those Christmas shows there and everything. But that's the key, too, because you have to bring in the younger people and say, this is cool stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
And speaking of that, too, I don't want to talk about, we know COVID hit last year, everything shut down. How are things going now with reopening of both Hochstein, OPO, everything?
Yeah, it's starting to open up. Hochstein has been doing really well. We have very strong protocols for safety, and there's been really no spreading. If anybody is identified,
spread the music, not the virus. I like that. You can use it if you want.
We use alternate studios. So, like, I have two studios where I'll teach in my studio, and then the next lesson I'll give them the studio next door, so they can air it out.
Right.
And between Zoom, which is in many ways very good medium, except for the sound is terrible.
Right.
But it's a really good way to be able to relate to the student close up, and in an environment where they're very comfortable.
Right.
I have a little sign in my studio that says, "It sounded better at home."
Or you see these were my lifelines, like seeing you play, RPO play, Grace play, all my friends play. But sometimes you'd be on the ceiling, somebody, the way the camera was, or everything else, or the sound would be, you'd see you're talking, but I can't hear you. And they would have to read the comments, and they'd realize and try to change. But I took anything then, but it's just, it's such a change, from how, especially if you're touring or working and all of a sudden you can't.
Yeah.
But how is this your Freedom Trio? Tell us a little about that.
Oh, well, Freedom Trio is me on trumpet, and my trumpet, I put it through guitar pedals, and I have what do I have? I have a harmonizer, I have a octave pedal, I have a bunch of different pedals that I put it through, looper, and different reverbs and stuff, so that I can just do different things.
That's cool.
And then my bass player, Peter Schwazik, which I know Andy knows very well.
Andy knows everybody.
and he has just a gazillion different pedals and stuff. And then my drummer is Joe Parker, and he's a great drummer. and we play around town. Our next gig really is like pretty much our first big gig is June 5th. At Abilene.
Yes, and I'm going to say if you'd like tickets, I was at Abilene, and Danny said they're going fast, so just go online to Abilene, very easy. Get yourself on the wheel call.
Yeah, I'm going to have to go to that because I'm
get a ticket.
They're
getting because I was at a show, and they are still because it'll probably be outside. I take it. Well, Rochester it might be snowing. You never know, but still the capacity has to be still limited.
Right.
So
I write all the tunes for our group. I write all the tunes, and that's. One of the things that I'm really, really big about is melody. We were talking about. It's like I really want it to have, like we call it Freedom Trio because we do a lot of different stuff. I love rhythms, so we're always doing like weird type of rhythms and things. But I always want to have that weird rhythm, and then through that is a melody that's being played. So it can carry you through, even though it's like a weird rhythm. It can carry you through being in 7 or 5 because it's a melody,
Right.
So, and that's what we do. Is we do a lot of like kind of stuff, and all my tunes are all tunes from just different things that I wrote. Like the tune that I think you might hear, they might play is this tune called "Dammit Walpole," and it's my friend Dan Walpole who lent me this book. Actually, it's the book by the bass player Victor Wooten. The music lesson, which I still haven't read. Everyone tells me it's a good book. And he lent me the book, and every time I would see him, I would say, "Damn it, Walpole, I ain't got your book." I would just say it in my head. Right? And but he's cool about it. He's not like, "Herb, where's my book?" But I would just say, "Damn it, Walpole, I ain't got your book." So then it became this thing, "Damn it, Walpole, I ain't got your book." That's the loop. So I would set that loop up on my my looper with the trumpet, and then the melody was "I ain't got your book," with a lot of drunk. Then I thought, like this whole thing.
Nice.
So
that's awesome.
So that's how all of my tunes are all tunes that have
sounds
some
like
kind of
fun.
thing.
One thing I have to say, this is all bringing to mind the days of live music where I would start at Jazz Fest like in the afternoon, make the rounds all night, then go to the Crown, get home and take the musicians out to Jitsy's. I'm sorry, even if you can. But I noticed they a lot of musicians like toasted cheese and tomato sandwiches for some reason. Not the place, which is probably to keep them in good health. And I made so many friends from there, like my friends from Cuba who I'm still in touch with, but all the different type of music. And what I would do is go, okay, I know this type of music. Let's go try this type of music. Then I'd end up being broke for months because I'd buy all these CDs. But I'm glad it's going to be big. But I want to talk about, that's what we talked about a little before, like music in the community. And I think music's a force for good as we're sort of getting down to, the dog bicycle potty. And you've been doing a lot of community stuff. And I know I keep saying Hochstein. You say it's like with your last name. Leave me alone. I was brought up in...
Hochstein has been doing community work just for music.
Years and years. Forever. I know I've been involved.
Forever.
And what is this stuff, your project now you're doing? I know you're doing...
I'm doing a project right now called Herb City Trumpets. And basically what it is we got a grant from the city, and it's a project for young black boys. And basically we're going, there's a lot of projects with violin and like trying to teach kids. And so we decided we're going to do it with trumpet. So we're going to just get young black boys from the city, bring them in, have instruction with them. I ordered these trumpets from Conselmer's, the company that I work with. So basically, everyone that comes in the group gets a new trumpet. Like everyone gets a brand new trumpet, and we're just trying to get people to come. If you go look at go to rockmusic.com, which is the city program.
We'll put up
Rock
links
Music,
to it.
and then the Herb City Trumpets is right there, and we're just trying to just trying to do something. And the reason people ask me, well, why can't there be black girls involved too? And I'm like, of course, but the thing about it is, I'm just picking something. I just chose black boys, and the reason why is because I don't know if you heard, but I was in jail for one day. Overnight, I was in jail for one day. It's a long story. I could tell that story at another time.
I recall.
Stay tuned.
There's some Jamaican food and a parking space involved. And when I went in there, everybody in jail was black male. Everyone Mm-hmm. Everyone. And then when we went to the arraignment, it was all black guys, young men, and they were super, super smart, super with it. They knew the system, all this kind of stuff. And I was like, how can I help so that all this energy and intelligence is now channeled in a positive way, right? In a positive way.
The word positive is great.
And if I could, if the trumpet can help, we can try to get this program together. We're going to have like mentors come in and speak to the kids every week. We have like a round table discussion that we're going to have every week. So we're looking for kids. We are looking for kids.
You'll love it too. This is a friend of mine told me a story years ago where he said he hated school. And he said, the thing that got me through school was music class I kept my grades up because I didn't want to get kicked out because I liked music. So without music, I would never even graduate. Right. And I also, in terms of, like you said, like for black boys, there's so many organizations. Like I'm involved with Girls Rock Rochester. Mm-hmm. And there's a submarine school of music run by Ben and Katie Morey, good friends of mine, that we take kids who do not have the money and make sure they can have lessons. So there's a lot of good programs around. This is another great addition to it, Herb. Thanks.
There's a lot of good programs.
So Fred, how does it work? I mean, do you give them private individual lessons, or how does...
Right now, the way we're starting is, and we don't, like, we want to build the program up to 30, 40 kids. Okay. Right now, like, we're just starting. We have, like, maybe, like, 7 or 8 kids. Mm-hmm. And right now, everyone is going to get individual instruction from me, like, to start off. And then as we grow, then we'll start adding teachers and just kind of building the program. We have a space now. We're going to be at School 19. And just starting it from scratch.
We do on the road shows where we can film. Maybe you can come down and talk to some of the kids sometime. I'd be glad to.
Yeah, so I'm finding, because I have a few, maybe 5 young African American students, and in my teaching, when I work with young children, I have a parent in the lesson, because the child will go, will cooperate, but then it all goes out the window.
Right.
And even if the parent doesn't really understand what's going on in the lesson, they bring a collective memory home that's abstract, but really helps sustain. And I found that formula really is effective.
That makes sense.
And especially finding now that, at least in the circumstance that I see, is that the African American mothers that I see are very hip.
Yeah.
And they're very supportive. And the fact that they get respect and for the relationship, and they are kind of keeping their children in the groove, because they'll drift out. I mean, somebody I would just worry. You give a boy a trumpet, his friend tries it out. Let's see if it flows.
I think it's a good idea to keep the girls, or not keep them out, but to limit it.
Yes,
it's because that distraction, that social stuff, you don't need that.
Yes, that's so okay. So both of you guys, like, I'm agreeing with both. Like, one, parents are essential to our program, right? They are essential. Like, we start off with the families. Like, we're having an informational meeting this coming Tuesday. 5 o'clock, School 19, Herb City Trumpets, and we're inviting the kids and their families. We're going to have a big meal and everything. So it's we have to get the families involved. It's so important to get the moms involved, right? Or whoever it is. It's so important to that. And then the other part is, as we were doing it, we were like, if we just have boys, and it's just me with these boys or whoever is teaching, there's a way that we can just be direct with these boys, and there's no girl energy in there.
No show off stuff.
All that stuff, right? It's just like, what do you think you're doing? Sit up.
Just the mother.
Right. You know what I mean? And that's, mom is mom, So that's both of you guys exactly.
I also think the way we make our community good and try to solve the problems we have to work together and do positive things and realize we're all in this together. Yes. Not just say, well, I'm going to support this. Do something. Right. Donate if you can. Do what you can.
Right.
We're all busy. We all have our things to do, but you do what you can. So
it seems interesting. It's like we have this period where there's this idea that money can solve every problem, and it doesn't.
Right.
It's just your human energy and your connection to the problem, and you're personally getting down and taken care of it. I just had this this very simple revelation the other day.
Okay.
I have these little sort of mottos that kind of
Sure.
crystallize my orientation. Like one of them, I mean, sort of my basic thing is like health is wealth.
Okay.
Okay. Honor is strength.
Okay.
And truth is power.
Oh, nice.
Okay. But the new one here is bother.
Bother.
All these little things you don't bother to do. I think I'm just going to sit here. I'm going to bother to fix that thing.
Yeah, right. That's interesting.
So it's a little word that kind of comes into your mind, and it's like, I think it'll bother.
Right. Interesting.
And so, like yesterday, I did a couple of repairs around my house that I hadn't bothered to do for the last 14 years.
Bothered to do them.
That's
interesting.
Butter Day.
Today is Bother Day.
Yeah. Father's Day.
Father's Day. Mother's Day. Today is Father's Day.
I had a friend a long time ago. It always stuck with me. He always said, "Nothing to it but to do it."
Nothing to it but to do. Yeah.
And it's like that.
But that's good. That's good. I like that. Nothing to it but to do it. But also, like what you were saying is about people feel like, okay, when I get some money, then I'll do it.
Right. When I got time. When I got
If I had
the money to do it, and that's what happened with this Herb City Trumpets. It's like we had the idea of this, and we went forward, and then there was a grant available, and then we went pitched it. And boom! Now we have a little bit of money. We still need more money. We just have a little bit, but you know what I mean. It's like we didn't have money when we started it.
What do you need?
We need money.
How much? How much money? So look, when we had the Guitar Save Rochester, I wrote a few grants, and we got them. We got all the grants we applied for. But one thing I found is that artists get caught up in doing the grant thing, and they waste time.
Right.
They just think, okay, I'm not going to waste time writing a grant. I'm just going to go to my studio and work, and do what I do, because that's what I do, and I'm okay with this idea of, I'm not making as much money as,
X, Y, or whatever.
But I'm not spending my afternoon delivering mail either.
Right.
Which, so
yeah, we're. We want to build this program, and
we have to save the world, and music is the way to do it.
That's the way. That's what the whole thing is about.
Definitely, music is the way to do it.
I mean,
that's I was saying this with all the crazy politics. Is why we don't talk politics. Is because nobody wants to listen to this crap. But when I would see friends at concerts, we were all together. Nobody brought up our differences. We were all, hey, how you doing?
Right.
Not like what's going on outside or whatever. We're all here to enjoy something. It's a great atmosphere.
Oh, music is definitely the way to...
That's why I have my button. It's more than music.
Or like, okay, if, it's a place for drummers to find homes. But, somebody will look back, too. You should have some people come down to play just to talk about their life and how this influenced them by playing and how it helped their life.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my God.
Is that like, what's a drummer without a girlfriend? Homeless? Is that what you're saying?
And what do you call the guy who hangs around with the band who can't play a drummer? We love drummers. That's why we actually have drum shows on here where we have a whole bunch of them talk.
Learning to survive drummer jokes is it's a useful skill.
Right. Like if music can accept drummers, then it can accept the world.
That's right.
It can fix the world.
See, we make fun of them because we love them. That's the reason we do.
Go find something to pound on, will you? Get out of here.
I can't think of good accordion jokes, okay? I see a lot of accordion jokes my dad likes, but it's been great having you guys on. I wish we could do this for a couple more hours. Have to come back.
No, this is great. Thank you for having me.
You do a very. This is what the show's all about. But what's coming up for you? We can promote and help. I know. Obviously, we'll give the links for your
Herb City Trumpets. We have the gig with the gig at Abilene.
If you can get tickets, you better get them soon. I know this for a fact.
And actually, coming up here, May 15th, RPO is doing. We have these streams. And we have this chamber music concert series called Truth is of No Color. And basically it is a series that's all focused on BIPOC composers. So like black, indigenous, or brown composers that are kind of underrepresented. And this May 15th, Valerie Coleman is a flutist and composer. She wrote some pieces that use Langston Hughes poems in her pieces. And then the other piece, the piece that finishes this series, this one concert is a piece I wrote called Healing. And it's my trio mixed with some strings and percussion from RPO. And it also uses a Langston Hughes poem. So that's on May 15th, and you can get it right at the RPO website, and it's free. It's free.
I'll tell you, those RPO streamings, Grace.
Streams, it's a free concert.
Yeah.
Those RPO streamings, Grace's Harpy Hour and everything, you were lifelines to me while I was sitting home, and you helped me use it. Okay, talk about doing. I use it as excuses to avoid doing laundry a lot of times. But it was just, I can't do it. It's going to start. It's going to start. Yeah. The machine's going to make noise. But just saying it was like a lifeline, and just check it out.
Wow.
Yeah.
And it's free, too. And then go support it afterwards.
Right,
go
exactly.
see some stuff.
Exactly.
Wow.
Yeah,
What's coming up over at...
Well, hopefully we'll have Jason Vio booked in again through my company called Bird of Paradise Productions.
Okay.
So,
and you're teaching now?
I teach.
How are you doing it? Or like I know you said they're coming in. Like you said?
I do some Zooming, and more of it's in person, which is in person is definitely superior to Zooming, but you can get a lot done. I mean, I've had a couple of students, one in New Jersey, one in Seattle, who I've been teaching online.
And I was supposed to teach a Zoom class actually at one college in writing, and we had to cancel it because even Zoom, somebody got the COVID there.
Wow.
So
they got, but not from the Zoom.
No, that's the thing. I was all right, but we just didn't have the students because of the COVID.
They touched the screen.
Don't touch the screen.
Yeah,
I want to make that clear. It wasn't from the Zoom. They already had it.
So I'm having a student recital on May 27th.
Okay.
And I want to invite you to come if you're free.
All right.
To play. One of the parts of my guitar program is blues.
Okay.
And so even basically with young students, they spend a year or two or three in this beginning group guitar, which I call a birthday party with guitars. But but by the time they can read in first position, then we have this curriculum around the blues.
Okay.
And so they're learning this jazz-oriented blues bass line and blues progression, which is a 2-5-1 turnaround.
All right, sure.
So it kind of gets them technically more connected, and if they can have a chance to play with somebody who really can play, that would really.
We'll talk
I'll
about
talk.
that.
I'll talk to you about.
Right.
It's blossoming though. Music is blossoming. It's coming out live again. It's great. Hey, Greg, you got anything coming up?
I play drums with bands. No, Anonymous Willpower has a May 21st, Abilene.
I saw
weeks before you.
Okay.
So if you'd love to come, I'd love to have you guys. Blah, blah, blah. Let's see. June, I'm in this other band called In the Mix, which is just a cover band, like classic rock stuff. And we're playing at the 75 Stutson.
Okay.
I have to get my friend Amanda Stone plays there every other month or so, and I have to get down there sometime.
And then I've got a jazz gig. You know Chuck Frieda?
Yeah.
Charlie. I'm playing a jazz gig with him, so I play all kinds of stuff.
I played with him in Big Roots.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, with Ronnie Stack.
Yeah. Oh wow, you were in that band.
Yeah, I was in Big Roots.
Wow.
Back
Okay.
in the
Next podcast we got to get.
Yeah.
I still play with the Majestics.
Oh, do you?
Yeah, the Majestics.
Oh, so you know Kevin Hart and all those guys.
Oh my God!
I played with him ages ago.
Lou, Kevin Hart.
Yeah.
Everybody here plays in it's Rochester. Everybody's in 10 projects at the same time.
Well, if you want to play a lot,
right, you have to.
It's everything. That's great, and we'd love to have you guys, both of you back. This has been such fun. I know you're very busy, and thanks for coming down. And also, our own Adriana Noon is playing at Love and Cup on the 15th. It's going to be a patio show.
Oh,
so
nice.
check Adriana out. Adriana is our sort of like house musician, other resident.
She's really good. I like her music a lot, and I really like their guitar player. I don't know why he just has a.
He should learn because he asked me to be the
guitar
guitar tech, so he needs to learn some guitar.
Yeah.
As I said, in terms of pulling strings, we had to pull 6 strings to get John here.
Yeah. And he's the nicest guy when he's playing. He looks all serious and. but when I talked to him and I just mentioned something about his guitar, and then I couldn't shut him up, and it was like, it just sometimes all you need is that little push.
Sometimes you ever get that with the musician's really serious, looks really mean, you're afraid, and you go. But so check all this stuff out. We'll see if it comes up, because I don't want to make promises we can't keep. Right. What was the song we were going to attempt to play out here?
The song we're going to attempt to play?
Just in case it doesn't come up, we tried. You can look it up on, her site or something.
Yeah, I sent it.
Got it.
Okay, good.
We got it. The magic voice.
Walpole. It's called "Dammit Walpole." That's the
you
song
said it,
I was
yes.
talking about, and it's one of our. It's like our hit, if you would say, which is not that big of a hit, but it's on Spotify, and it's just a fun little kind of funky. It's basically a blues. And we just have a good time with it.
Oh, speaking of that, the Anonymous Willpower, I keep forgetting this, is on the Bandcamp site, I guess.
Oh, they're putting out like a single a month?
Yeah. I guess one of my songs will be next month.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it's called Pretty Words.
Nice.
It's all about people lying.
These days? No. But thanks, everybody, and I'm glad nobody thought that the dog stole the show there.
Dog's awesome. He's great.
Thanks a lot, and thanks for listening and support these things. See ya.
Yep. Okay, thanks.